Oh, that's excellent.
He's been more animated than normal, aren't you?
Okay, why don't you just introduce yourself, introduce the bird,
And the program, that sort of
go
thing.
to the program.
You ready?
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Dave Sidden, Executive Director at Wildlife Images. And on this episode of Into the Wild, I'll be talking about our screech owl, Gizmo, here. Screech owls are pretty commonly found throughout most of Oregon and the Pacific Northwest for that matter. These little guys are oftentimes mistaken for baby owls. People see an owl that's only 6, 8 inches tall and think, oh gosh, isn't that a cute little baby owl? Well, he's full grown. This is as big as they'll ever be. Screech owls are very opportunistic hunters, like most raptors have to be. Quite often they will utilize things like the roads and highways to hunt on. They typically take animals as big as mice and as small as earthworms, and everything in between can fall into their range of diets. Well, oftentimes they are so target oriented, they're so driven by looking at their target, they forget about things like automobiles. So they'll swoop down on a highway and forget about the Buick coming down at 40 miles an hour on them. And unfortunately, we get these guys in, we probably get more screech owls in than any other raptor because of impacts with automobiles. In fact, Gizmo here came into us because he was hit by a car, had a badly broken right wing, the bones fused near a joint, and he was been without flight his entire life, so he's been in our care. We have literally had cars drive into Wildlife Images front gate with these guys stuck in the grill and have to peel them out and try to heal their wounds and get them back out into the wild. Oftentimes it's a concussion. It just takes a little while for them to recover and they go back out on their own. But other times it may be skeletal injuries or something in depth where the birds don't survive at all. But please watch out on the highways. These little screech owls are not migratory, so they're here year-round. During the winter time, food sources are pretty scarce, so you'll find them more often out where they can be seen. Of course, their cryptic coloration allows them to sit in a tree and hide. Their whole objective is to look like a bump on a log. That way other predators that come by, like a hawk or maybe even a bobcat, something bigger, can't really see them and grab a hold of them, because typically they are crepuscular, which means they're twilight active. So this little guy would be sitting on a branch during the daytime trying to look inconspicuous. Around twilight he would get active, go out and look for food, try to hunt. If he couldn't find anything, he might sit back on another branch and conk out for the evening. And then around sunrise, or close to sunrise, when the sky starts getting a little lighter, he'll go out and prowl again looking for another meal. So of course they are opportunistic predators, as I mentioned, and almost any small animal, small bird, insect can fall into their diets. They're very good to have around. They are probably Mother Nature's very finest mouse traps. These owls do a very good job of controlling small rodents. So please, we encourage you to keep them around, and they are not a baby great horned owl. This is as big as they'll ever be. If you'd like more information about screech owls, you can easily log on to the Wildlife Images website. It's wildlifeimages.org, and there you can approach us directly and find out more information about Wildlife Images, how you can become a sustaining member, which helps us take care of these little guys, because these owls belong to all of us, not just us at Wildlife Images. And it's going to take effort from each and every one of you to ensure their survival for the future. We'll look forward to seeing you again next time on another episode of Into the Wild. Hi, Gizmo. Oh yeah, you're so tough. Oh, you're a tough guy. Ow. Ouch.
Can you kind of hold him out so he faces the camera better?
That better?
Yeah. Now he's looking the other direction.
Of course.
Come on, Gizmo. Now, do you want to just talk about how Gizmo broke his wing?
Sure. Gizmo came into our facility due to an impact with an automobile, and it badly mangled his right wing. You see how it hangs right here. He still stands on the feathers sometimes. So it never did heal correctly because it was near a major joint. It calcified, and he's been without flight his entire life. So he's adapted very well to captivity. It's become a very important part of our educational programs and has gone to thousands of venues throughout the county, or the region actually, and probably seen more school children than any other screech owl in our area.
Now, while still looking at Gizmo, and looking at Gizmo and looking back and forth at the camera, can you talk about the facility that Gizmo stays in?
Okay. Gizmo, like all the birds of prey, have to have their own facilities at Wildlife Images. So there's a lot that goes into those. We have to make sure the design is proper so he can get up and down on perches, he can acquire his food and his water, and he has a nice rich environment because that's where he's going to spend the rest of his life. And of course, birds of prey are predatory. We can't keep a screech owl with another form of owl or a hawk. They'll eat one another. So each of the birds of prey that are part of our educational program at Wildlife Images has to have its own separate, uniquely designed facility. So there's a lot of expenses involved. This little guy, as small as he is, probably costs us $300 to $400 every year to maintain because he has a very specific diet of mice, a lot of care, a lot of careful consideration. We have to trim his beak, his nails. There's a lot of veterinary work that goes into just to maintain these guys and keep them healthy in captivity. And of course, they are protected by federal and state laws. You cannot have them as a pet, so don't even think in that direction. Hi, Gizmo.
And pull them in a little tighter. And let's wrap up.
Want to go to the website, talk about the website to wrap up?
This wraps up this episode of Into the Wild.
Okay. Well, this wraps up this episode of Into the Wild. If you'd like more information about Wildlife Images or projects, how you can become a member or how you can become a volunteer, you can log on to our website by going to wildlifeimages.org and get all the information necessary. So we'll look forward to seeing you again next time on another episode of Into the Wild. Right, Gizmo?